Today we're talking B-roll, but more specifically, fashion B-roll. What is going on, everybody? If you're new around here, my name is Finn Badgley. I'm a commercial fashion, portrait photographer, and all-around content creator. And today, we're going to revisit a little project that I worked on a little bit ago, but it gave me the idea for something, which is talking about fashion B-roll specifically. Because we see a lot of videos talking about B-roll and all these different intricate shots you can do, but how does that actually translate when we're shooting something more fashion-oriented? Well, I've done that, so now I'm going to relay that information to you so that way you know. And basically the reason you would want to know something like this is maybe you're working for a client, you want to make some kind of fashion film, lifestyle ad, that kind of thing. These techniques can be taken to a lot of different applications. You can use them for lifestyle ads, different things like that. And it just works to create a great story. Here are some visual tips that I like to keep in mind whenever doing so. So for the most part, whenever I am shooting the actual clothing on a person, we're looking for a lot of motion, we're looking for a lot of action and that sort of thing. Now, with this in mind, I'm pretty much going to shoot everything on a gimbal unless I'm getting a couple wider, more static shots, but that depends on the length of the overall ad and shoot that we're going for. If we're going for a longer format thing that you can check out and then also edit it down to smaller things, we'll get some wider, more static shots in there, but for the most part, we're going to be doing a lot of tracking shots, walking, that sort of thing. So this is where you want to have a solid foundation of how to get stable footage. So the idea is you want to have your wider shots, your closer shots, your mediums, your close-ups, everything in between. You want to have a nice rounded out shot list because there's nothing worse than getting in the edit and not having enough footage. So I'm going to get a lot of different angles, and primarily for this, it depends on the type of ad that you're going for here. For what we did here, this was a jewelry styled shoot. The emphasis here was on the jewelry, so I'm going to be punching in a lot, getting a lot of those little details, but I also need to make sure that I get some wider shots for context. And the idea here is that we want to keep in mind the vibe. This is what we're selling here. We're not selling jewelry, we're selling a vibe. Because if people buy into the vibe, they will want to buy the jewelry to have, you guessed it, the vibe. Okay? That's what it is. Selling the vibe. You've heard of selling sunset, we're selling the vibe. That's what we're doing here. Okay, so in order to do that, we're gonna have this person walking down the street, that kind of business casual, almost that girl boss mentality. And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna get a couple shots starting low and moving up. And we're gonna be cutting back and forth, showing little pieces of jewelry here, there, and everywhere. I personally love backlighting things. So we're gonna get a couple nice ethereal backlit shots there. Hair turning, all of this I am going to shoot at a higher frame rate. I'm shooting this at 60 frames per second, slowed down on a 24 frames per second timeline, just so that way you get a little bit of that nice grace, elegance in there, because this is a jewelry ad. We want that elegant sort of feel, which is why I'm going to shoot this at a higher frame rate. If this were a more intense, fast-paced, edgier type of shoot, I wouldn't shoot at 60 frames per second and slow it down. I'd shoot it all at 24p. I'd just go for it. But that's not the vibe. It's a different vibe that we're selling here. Know the vibe, then sell the vibe. Okay? That's what we're doing. So with that, I'm gonna punch in on the wrist. I'm gonna get a couple shots of the watch as it's going. I have already preset this to keep the watch hands at a nice level. If you know product photography, you know that 10 and 2 are the spots to have those hands frame the watch nicely. That's what we do here. We get that at 10 and 2, and we keep getting our shots there. We're gonna get a bunch of close-up shots on the model's face, because guess what? This is who you wanna be. You wanna be that powerful woman, so we are going to make it so you want to be that person by getting those shots. So that way, that translates to the target audience. Now again, this is just specifically for this. Tailor your shots and your shot selection, your frame rate, everything to the actual look and overall feel of your shoot. Again, if this were a dramatic thing, I'd be going a lot more fast paced or doing a little bit different type of stuff. If this were a larger clothing brand where it's all about the outfits and it was streetwear, I'd get them in an urban setting, get some low down sweeping shots on a gimbal, come in for some more close-ups, go back wide, and then get it all in there and have a totally different look. But that's not what we're doing. We're doing something completely different. We're shooting jewelry, that's what we're focusing on. So these are some techniques that you can keep in mind. I'm doing a lot of tracking shots, but here's the thing. We want to start with them walking towards us. But to round out the fairly simple story of this, we're just observing this woman in the world and she is killing it. She's doing great. She is looking great. And that's what we're going for here. We just want to really sell that vibe. So she's going to start walking in, and at the end of it, we're going to get walking out. So with these shots, I'm going to be getting a couple different sized tracking shots, going back, do a couple takes of each one, and then I'm going to go the other way and follow her, going now, instead of opposite direction, me going backwards with her, I am now behind her, doing like an over the shoulder type of vibe, following her. The focus is always on her or on the jewelry, whatever I'm focusing on. And then obviously we do punch in for those details. And we get some things where we have like the arm coming up, following the watch again. But as the arm comes up and she starts moving her hair, guess what? We see the rest of the jewelry. It leads you in, keeps you wanting more, and then you get the rest of it. And that's how we get you. Now, this is a simpler ad, and that is totally cool. Why? Because we like to keep things simple, because if we get overcomplicated and throw in a bunch of crazy moves, different orbits and stuff when I'm running around the model in a circle, that's not really gonna work for this. So we keep it simple and keep it effective, and that's really what we wanna do here. Just get those really simple, effective shots that cut together really nicely, add in some music, and you are off to the races. So if you have been wanting to experiment with B-roll, specifically if it's around shooting jewelry, clothing, or anything of that variety, particularly on models, because we also did jewelry of the still subjects, and I have a couple different videos that I'll link up here, so that way you can check out those of how to actually do product B-roll and that sort of thing. But this, it's all on figure. It's all being worn by a model, and that's how you're going to actually get this B-roll. These are the types of shots that you're going to want to get when you do that sort of thing. And another important thing to note before I go is that it is also important to actually communicate with the model what you're going to want out of the shoot, what exactly they're going to be doing. If it's a very natural look, give her the mood that you want to be translated to the end viewer. And then if she knows what she's doing, she's going to communicate that through her body movements. We're going for that simple, classy, elegant look. And that's what we got. Why? Because I told the model that's what we were going for, and we adjusted it as we needed to, so that way we got it down. And I think it went absolutely fantastically. Now, with that all said, these are just some tips to help you up your B-roll. Maybe give you something else to try and add to your reel, add to your portfolio. So go out there, get some models, shoot some B-roll, and just have a great time. And you know, sell the vibe. Okay, now with all that said, if you enjoyed this video and got some value out of it, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment if you like this kind of thing and you want to see more behind the scenes, B-roll, video, filmmaking advice from me in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos so you never miss an upload. Work hard, rest often, and as always, I will see you on the next one.